This is the Good Omens podcast on TV Podcast Industries in association with Podcastica, and we're back talking about Good Omens Season 2, Episode 1, The Arrival.
Then I was.
Gabriel, please, try to pay attention. Why did you bring the box here?
What's Gabriel?
You are. At least I think you are.
Gabriel. Cool. I love it. Gabriel.
Although, actually, no. If anyone asks, you're not Gabriel.
Oh, okay. Then what am I?
Well, you're, Jim.
Jim. Cool. I love it. Jim. Short for Gabriel.
No, short for James.
James. Cool. I love it. James. Long for Jim, short for Gabriel.
No, just forget about Gabriel.
I'll try, but I find it kind of hard to forget things.
Welcome back, fellow acolytes, angels, and demons. This is the Good Omens podcast for Season 2, Episode 1, The Arrival. I'm one of your hosts, Derek, and I'm joined by my own ineffable fiancé, John.
Well, thank you, and welcome back, fellow acolytes. It has been a long time being in this world, and I'm so glad that we're back in
I know. Good Omens Season 1 was 2019. Before the world went a bit odd and skew-if.
Yes, before the world had its own apocalypse.
Yes. Or cough-pocalypse, I think, is how it's being referred to now at this stage. But great to be back talking about Good Omens. I know that there's a sound clip from the first episode that I know we're going to use throughout this season, but I'm going to dedicate the first use of it to our co-host Chris, who's not on Season 2 of Good Omens, but he was adamant at the end of Season 1 that because the show had been so good, it was going to get a Season 2. I fought back against him, saying the book was written back in the 90s, late 80s, early 90s.
Yes.
And there was no chance that there was going to be a Season 2. So, in honour of Chris.
You were right. I was wrong. You were right.
There you go. So, Chris, the one of us that was right, that there was definitely going to be a Season 2. This has been long in the works, apparently based on notes that Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett had worked on together before Terry Pratchett's untimely passing many years ago. They had decided that if the show was going to be made, they may get a second season, and they would come up with an idea for a follow-up and a sequel to the first book, to Good Omens.
Yes, and so glad that they have used their scribbles, notes, and you name it, jottings in order to come up with the Season 2. And of course, for Terry as well.
Of course.
Good old Terry Pratchett.
Yeah.
So yeah, just really glad to be back with Aziraphale and Crowley. It's just nice to be back, I think.
It really is.
With all just the little quirkiness, from elevating the humble Eccles cake to that little quirky song of "You were right, I was wrong, you were right."
Absolutely. A great moment in the episode, and there's lots of fun things to talk about. If you don't know us, myself and John are from TV Podcast Industries. You may be hearing us on the Podcastica feed. Thanks very much for Jason Kabasi for putting this together and allowing us to share the podcast to the rest of Podcastica. But we've been podcasting for over 9 years now. This is our 775th episode of TV Podcast Industry. We've covered loads and loads of shows over the years on the podcast. And I've also been a contributor to the Walking Dead cast and House Podcastica over there with Jason. So he kindly let us over here in Ireland talk about this wonderful, very British sitcom as part of our coverage for TV Podcast Industries and Podcastica.
Yes, when Britain wasn't a screaming hellhole of Tory rule.
Yes, exactly. A much kinder, nicer world down there in Soho, in the UK. But if you want to find any more information about us, any more of our podcasts, you can pop over to tvpodcastindustries.com where you can find anything over there. We'd also love to hear your thoughts about Good Omens. You can email us to feedback@tvpodcastindustries.com or go over to podcastica.com where there's loads of other podcasts over there and loads of ways to contact us through the contact page over there as well.
Exactly. And whilst we have you, we have just finished finished our coverage on TV Podcast Industries of Marvel's Secret Invasion. We are finishing off Netflix's The Witcher.
That's right.
Season 3.
Yep.
And of course, we are now starting on our great adventure with Good Omens Season 2. We will, of course, very soon be going into Ahsoka, Star Wars Ahsoka in August. The Wheel of Time from Prime in September.
Yep, Season 2.
And I believe there is Gen Z as well coming up as well.
There is, in September.
As well.
And Loki Season 2 coming in October.
So it is busy times on TV Podcast Industries, but I'm really glad to be back with Good Omens. I loved Season 1. I can't wait to get into Season 2. So let's kick off with our spoiler-filled discussion.
Definitely.
Derek, who gave us what, when, where, and how?
Well, of course, the show is based on characters from the novel Good Omens by Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett. This episode was written for television by Neil Gaiman and John Finnemore. John Finnemore is a British writer, most well known for his writing with David Mitchell on Peep Show, That Mitchell and Webb Look, and David Mitchell's Soapbox. He's a writer with Neil Gaiman on all episodes of Series 2 of the show.
Very good. Loved Peep Show.
Absolutely loved That Mitchell and Webb Look, and David Mitchell is
number one.
Yeah, absolutely. David Mitchell is a mainstay of comedy TV in the UK as well. So we see him on loads and loads of shows. So great to hear one of his writing partners getting this role as co-writer on this season of Good Omens as well.
Yes.
Yeah, and this episode, of course, was directed by our friend Douglas McKinnon.
Yes.
Yes.
Good old Doug. Yes,
Yeah.
he was listening along to our Season 1 coverage.
Well, just in case our wonderful fellow acolytes didn't hear the lovely message that Doug sent in to us for our 500th episode, I thought we'd play it here, because it was really nice. It was actually dedicated to the fans of Good Omens as well.
Hello, I'm Douglas McKinnon, Director of Good Omens. Congratulations on the 500th episode of TV Podcast Industries. Thanks to all of the fans of Good Omens who have listened to the excellent podcasts, and here's to the next 500.
And we've had 275 episodes since that message was sent in by Douglas.
Exactly,
Wasn't it really nice?
Really, really nice of him. And of course,
Very
the
kind.
shout out to the Good Omens fans as well.
Absolutely. Well, with that, John, let's get into our coverage of Season 2 of Good Omens, Episode 1. Do you want to tell us what they gave us with your synopsis for the first episode, The Arrival?
Sure. After averting the apocalypse, Crowley and Aziraphale are on the outs with heaven and hell. Crowley is living in his car, feeling aimless and just very bored. Even his interactions with his replacement, Shax, the new High Representative of Hell in London, are a struggle. As Shax gets to grips with her role, she's confused about why being a demon on Earth is so easy, and why the humans keep inflicting evil, horrible stuff to each other. But Shax hears something juicy on the Hell-Heaven grapevine, which definitely doesn't exist, and which is awash with rumours that there's something going down in the up. Meanwhile, at Aziraphale & Co. bookshop in Soho, Aziraphale is relaxing to a new record he bought from Maggie in the vinyl shop across the road, and forgiving her rent arrears. Relaxing into Shostakovich, he is disturbed when a very confused and very naked Archangel Gabriel, holding a box, walks through the street straight to his shop. He doesn't know who he is, where he is, or who Aziraphale is, but he knows that Aziraphale will keep him safe and stop the bad thing that he doesn't know what it is from happening. Slightly panicked about what is going on, Aziraphale calls the only one he knows that can help, Crowley, who is far from happy to help Gabriel. Crowley has no inclination to help Gabriel, suggesting they leave him on Dartmoor, and he refuses to help his friend, leaving to go back to his car. While away, Crowley is called on by Beelzebub, who will return Crowley to hell if he brings Gabriel to him. Beelzebub also informs him that extreme sanctions will be used by heaven against anyone harbouring Gabriel from them. Crowley returns immediately to Aziraphale to help him and admits, with a little dance, that he was wrong and Aziraphale was right. Together, the two perform a very minor half-a-miracle to hide Gabriel, now named James/Jim, from everyone's sight. But the miracle isn't minor enough, and with klaxons blaring and red lights flashing in heaven, it attracts the attention of Michael and the other angels to a little bookshop in Soho.
Excellent stuff. And yes, as we said, great to be back in this this sense of humour in Good Omens. There's some great little moments in the episode overall. But also, because all 6 episodes of the show are released on Prime Video in the same day, we know that a lot of our listeners will have watched all 6 episodes of the show. We're going to be covering one episode at a time. So because of that...
On a weekly basis.
On a weekly basis, of course. But because of that, I think it is appropriate to do a full synopsis for the episode, just in case you can't remember what happened in each individual one, right?
Yes. And we always do it.
And we always do it. Exactly.
So we're creatures of habit, shall you say.
Absolutely. What else do? We always talk about our top moments from the episode, trying to cover off everything that's happened in the episode, the fun things and the things we enjoyed throughout it. We call these, for our Good Omens podcast, the signs of the apocalypse.
Yes, we do. So shall we get into our first sign of the apocalypse?
Absolutely. Where are we starting, John?
We're starting in the beginning.
Or even before the beginning.
Before the beginning, nonetheless.
That's creation.
Yes, we are reuniting with Crowley all in white here, seemingly very pious and pure at this very moment.
Just carrying out the commands of God, the Almighty.
Exactly. With Aziraphale, who helps him crank up the universe, shall we say.
Yep.
The Big Bang creation to join the two opposing forces of religion and science.
Yes.
And just... really, it was just great to have these two, Aziraphale and Crowley, Martin Sheen and David Tennant, just batting backwards and forwards between one another. Totally happy at creation, very pretty, with Crowley calling it a star factory.
Yes.
But with Aziraphale, indicating that, upstairs was said we'll be shutting it all down in about 6,000 years, and explains that, that bluey, greeny, planet somewhere over in that quadrant, once it's created, is where the people are going to be. The grand upstairs experiment that's going to happen. And then we just see Tennant going, that's a bit of a waste, that these nebulas and stars are not just wallpaper for these people on Earth to be looking at. And suggests that maybe he can tell the Almighty or give him a suggestion to keep it all running, and possibly put something in the suggestion box. So it's just really sort of down to earth, up in heaven, or up in space, and really sort of, just the mundane of what they're saying around the grandiose of the universe, and just the idea that Crowley kind of says, well, how much trouble can I get into for giving a few suggestions, asking a few questions? And of course, we know what happens to Crowley. His pure white outfit turns into a rather black outfit.
It certainly does. It certainly does. I love those nods between the two characters here. We've got Crowley, as you say, wondering whether suggesting things to the Almighty will get him punished. Of course not. Definitely won't. The Almighty's lovely. Won't punish me at all for questioning his ineffable plan. But I also like that we still get Aziraphale here, the first meeting of these two characters, and he's so polite when he's telling Crowley that effectively the thing he spent so much time creating is going to be destroyed millions of years before the engine is warmed up, and it will become the greatness that it could be, this expansive universe that it could be. It's just great to see these two characters back. I just, you forget how good Sheen and Tennant are together when you haven't seen them together in a while, but they play off each other so well.
Definitely. But in this beginning of not only the universe, but of the second series, both are on the outs.
Yes, they are.
Heaven and hell.
Sorry, I did want to call out one moment that I absolutely loved from this creation of the universe. I love that Crowley's looking at the book and he's saying, let there be everything from pages 11 to pages 3,602, inclusive. Oh, let there be light. So, using the commands as we know them from the Bible. Very good. Very good.
We have in the beginning of creation, but also in the beginning of season 2. And we see here that both Aziraphale and Crowley are on the outs from heaven and hell.
Yeah.
But they have carved out their own little niche on Earth. Crowley, I love the fact that he's living in his car and he's got his plants on the back seat. I really hope he shouts at them again to try and get them grow further. And Aziraphale is running...
It's a great car,
Oh, it is. And Aziraphale is running his sleepy bookshop there on the corner in Soho. With this little sort of community of his. He's got Nina across the road with her coffee shop called Give Me a Coffee or Give Me Death. And we have...
I kind of say the same sometimes myself when I'm editing the podcast, to be honest.
And with Maggie just along the row there with her record shop. And yes, not having paid her rent for about 8 months, about 8,000 grand. And he goes, I'll do a little debt forgiveness. I'm very good at forgiving.
Absolutely,
As he buys some Shostakovich records.
Which is worth about £8.
Exactly.
Versus the 8 grand debt.
To forgive her arrears, which is like, he is an angel.
He is a lovely, lovely guy. A big change here from season 1. We obviously saw Aziraphale and Co, the bookshop, and that was a big set and a big central location for season 1. But here, the whole street now is becoming its own character in season 2.
Yes.
So obviously bringing in the local shopkeepers as well as Aziraphale himself. So there's a little touch in there that the reason why the vinyl record store has been left open was because originally that was in the bookshop. It was in the corner of the bookshop. And we know, of course, that is Aziraphale that's been there the whole time in that bookshop. But
yes.
Maggie saying that apparently it was his great-great-grandfather who worked with her great-grandfather, and because of that, she's allowed to keep her vinyl record shop. Vinyl not as popular in this world as it is here. There are loads of vinyl record stores that stay open.
Nina from the coffee shop is very sceptical of the vinyl. I think Maggie gives her a present a bit later on, because I think... Yes, there are a few sort of sparks, at least from Maggie's side, with Nina. Yeah. So she gives her a copy of a Nina Simone album. But yes, Nina of the Coffee House is maybe a little more skeptical of vinyl. It's had its day.
She might be more of a Spotify listener than a vinyl listener, I think. But I love that moment with the two of them when they're locked inside the coffee shop, looking across the road, and Maggie's door is wide open. Maggie going, "Oh my God, somebody could break in and steal money from the place." And Nina going, "I'd be much more worried if people could break in and leave more vinyl behind for your record store."
Exactly.
Very good. It's also great to have both of these actresses back. The two members of the Chattering Order of St. Beryl, the satanic nuns that we saw in season 1. Nina played Sister Mary Loquacious, who was pretty important in those scenes, and Maggie, played by Maggie Service, played the character Sister Teresa Garrulous in season 1 as well. So great to have them back in completely different roles this time around.
Yeah, definitely.
I think we'll see that a little bit throughout this season. I've been hearing rumours there's lots of other returning actors and actresses that will be popping up in different roles in this season as well.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of which, we also have the awesome Miranda Richardson,
yes, we do,
who was also in season 1 as Madame Tracy.
Yes.
Now playing Shax, who is the High Representative of Hell in London, and Crowley's replacement, just kind of easing herself into the job. And I have to say, her and Crowley on the park bench, and suddenly realizing, I come up with all these evil sort of ideas, and before I enact them, humans have already gone and done something horrible to each other or themselves.
Yeah,
it's
way worse than anything she could have thought
of. They're their own worst enemy. All kinds of hellish stuff is imagined by humans just to inflict upon themselves.
And it wasn't the reference to this in season 1 and in the book as well, was effectively Crowley saying the same thing, that he'd come up with this massively devious plan, and it turned out that they just created the massive roundabout outside Birmingham, which is much worse than anything he could have come up with. Yeah.
So this was really, really good to have Miranda Richardson back and Crowley here, kind of feeling almost a little bit put upon because she's asking these questions of her predecessor here. And you just get a really sort of, again, another little quirky moment as someone sits next to Crowley with the code phrase of the clarinet is a good instrument when it's the wrong bench and, you know, the Azerbaijani sort of spy office dude is stood just over there feeding bread to ducks, which of course he shouldn't. He should be giving them frozen peas.
Is that the thing that we've learned from the episode?
I guess
I'd
so.
never heard that before.
Yeah, I guess so.
I knew that you shouldn't be shouldn't be giving bread to ducks. I knew that was always a bad thing for the little things that they can be overfed and die. But I never knew that peas was
Is
a
it
good
gluten
idea.
something, or is it just that they explode?
Well, I don't think bread grows naturally in the wild, so
No, it most certainly doesn't.
so they wouldn't naturally eat bread. It's only when humans feed it to them. So I like the idea that it could be frozen peas, which would be good for their digestive system.
The idea of a bread tree.
Given that Crowley is a demon from hell, it's very nice that he cares for the ducks.
Absolutely, he's kind of. Obviously, Aziraphale is kind of rubbing off on him a bit here.
Oh, yes.
But, certainly here we have Shax and Crowley, but we get the notion of gossip, juicy gossip, no less, circulating around the heaven and hell sphere through the grapevine,
which doesn't exist. We don't talk to heaven at all. Say the people in hell. Oh, that's tall.
I love that they've used the word the grapevine because it's one of my favourite phrases to use. Have you heard on the grapevine? Although I do sometimes use the underground grapevine as well.
Oh, very good.
Yes.
Very good.
Which is a Blackadder reference, of course, with which Miranda Richardson was Queenie.
She certainly was.
In Blackadder season 2 as well.
Yes.
So yes, I love the fact that there is this kind of unofficial, informal sort of communication line between heaven and hell, which most definitely does not exist.
But there would be, of course. Like if it's going around for 1 million years, of course you're going to have back channels between heaven and hell that people will find out what's going on.
Exactly,
you know.
exactly.
To keep the Almighty's ineffable plan together, but there has to be some kind of contact between the two of them.
Most certainly, but I think moving on to our second sign of the apocalypse.
Yeah, that's kind of the setup of the episode. Getting on to our second sign of the apocalypse.
Something that is most definitely not a part of the ineffable grand plan is the unplanned arrival of naked Gabriel in Soho. I'm surprised he wasn't taken down a back alley, quite frankly, given he was in Soho. There are many nooks and crannies that can be explored in Soho.
There are. It is one of the more interesting areas of London, and I think it's kind of a bit of the joke of it that, you know, you always see something weird on a Saturday afternoon in Soho, but so everybody's just watching on for the weird thing that's going on.
Well, it's even that everyone was actually just watching on.
Just stopped going, what?
Dare I say it, perving, if you will, taking out their mobile phones, capturing it for posterity.
It is John Hamm.
Sorry, posterity.
Nice.
Yes, I thought this was just hilarious. And I mean, you can absolutely see John Hamm completely enjoying this sort of emperor with no clothes walk through the streets of Soho to get to Aziraphale's little corner bookshop. And of course, Aziraphale's world of Shostakovich, as he's kind of conducting along to the music, is completely turned on its head here.
Absolutely. There was a really great interview with John Hamm back at New York Comic Con last year. It was kind of a virtual interview with him, where he was asked why he came back for season 2, because everybody kind of had to be convinced to come back, because, you know, the one-off success of Good Omens season 1, it's kind of, can you replicate that? You know, it's from a really well-loved book from 30 years beforehand, many years in the making. Could you replicate that with a second season? And he said he opened the script, saw his first moments in it were walking naked through the streets of Soho, and went, I'm in. Yeah. so yes, definitely plays the role really well. You can tell he's having a lot of fun. His big hug to Aziraphale when he arrives after putting down the box, his big naked hug. You can tell even in that there's some comedy from from John Hamm, enjoying this moment. Really love when they're inside and having this who's on first type comedy conversation about who he is, what does he know, why is he here, and Aziraphale is trying to interrogate him for information. Gabriel is giving up nothing because he has nothing to give, but he keeps dropping little bombs in it, kind of going, I knew that if I'd come here, you'd keep me safe and the bad thing wouldn't happen. Aziraphale wondering what the bad thing is, and him going, well, I don't know, what bad thing? So,
exactly. I loved all of this, is like, what am I doing here? Where is here? Who are you? Who am I? But I know I'll be safe here.
Yeah.
And it's just really, really good. I love that, it's like, you shouldn't be here. You're Gabriel, but we need to keep you hidden. And it's like, we'll call you James or Jim. Is that another word for Gabriel? No, forget Gabriel. And it's just really, really good.
Yeah.
I love
Jim's short for James, which is short for Gabriel.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. I just really, really enjoyed all of this. And I love how it's countered as well with Crowley, who has, is going, I think at one stage says his royal smugness is in trouble. Oh, so sad.
Yes.
So sarcastically, has no real inclination to help when Aziraphale realizes that, he needs, his friend's help.
Well, if you remember season 1, Gabriel was pretty terrible.
Yeah, exactly.
Crowley had to pretend to be Aziraphale to stop Aziraphale from being killed by the torture that Gabriel was putting him through.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't think there's any love lost between
absolutely not.
Gabriel and
even just the fact that he is or was the Supreme Archangel.
Exactly.
I have to say now, the other side of this is I love that Michael in heaven is there and is kind of like, well, someone's got to be the Supreme Archangel of heaven. These duties still need to be performed, and it's kind of putting themselves forward as the Supreme Archangel. And yet when it comes to stuff happening with the big klaxon at the end, it's almost like she doesn't want the responsibility of it, but wants to be sat in the seat, sort of being, puffing out the chest and giving orders effectively, but doesn't want the hassle of the nitty gritty of the role. Yeah, I just really like that because, yes, I guess it can remind many people of their boss.
Absolutely. Some managers that you've had that just want the title.
Exactly.
But yeah, Michael's just handing us straight off to Uriel to get everything sorted. Uriel seems to be much more qualified at this because she's obviously paid attention before to what Gabriel may have been doing in the role. So I do like those little moments between them as well.
And Aziraphale as well, who come with this matchbox that has been found in heaven, which is impossible.
By Muriel.
Yes. With the words "the Resurrectionist" on it. Now the box is empty.
Yep.
So yes, interesting.
Yes.
To see, but it kind of suggests to, Aziraphale, Muriel, Michael, and Uriel that
this might have been the cause. Yeah.
That this might have been the cause, but also that he is more than likely gone down to Earth.
Yes.
So they're
Edinburgh
kind of,
specifically, isn't
yes,
it?
to Edinburgh. Yes. So kind of narrowing their search, for the former Supreme Archangel of Heaven.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but this was really good. The other thing I want to quickly mention is that so Gabriel arrives naked at the bookshop with a box, which ultimately Aziraphale goes out because Gabriel's left it on the doorstep. Yeah, because it might be something to give a clue. But when he opens it up, he sees that there's at least it appears to be empty. However, I question that because there is a moment where you see a fly go into the box when it's on the doorstep. And then later on, Gabriel is being pestered by a fly in the bookshop.
Yes.
And within this show, the devil, Beelzebub, is made of flies. Yes, so I'm just wondering whether it is something to do with the machinations of hell as to why Gabriel is where he is.
Yeah.
Or whether it's Gabriel having done something to himself. Nonetheless, yes, the fly in the ointment, possibly. Yeah.
Yes, does that fly maybe contain the personality of Gabriel?
Yeah.
Or his memories, maybe. That could be interesting to see. Hopefully nobody swats it and ruins the whole plan.
Yeah, definitely. But we have Aziraphale and Crowley meeting up in Nina's coffee shop. Crowley getting his 6 shots of coffee in a really big mug.
Yeah.
And Aziraphale wanting something that will be a bit more calming. And I love the fact that here, the humble Eccles cake is referenced.
Absolutely.
Coming up from northwest England, close to Eccles, really love Eccles cakes, and certainly the fresh ones that used to be made by and baked by my mum as well. So I love the fact that they're walking across with these Eccles cakes, and then they're taken into the shop in order to keep Aziraphale calm, while Crowley is sort of spiked out on caffeine here.
Yeah.
But of course, as soon as Crowley sees Gabriel, like I said, it's just don't want anything to do with it, doesn't want to help his friend, and won't help his friend. And if it is to get Gabriel as far away from them as possible.
Yeah.
So dumping him in Dartmoor. Well, I guess there's, you've got Sherlock Holmes, the Hound of the Baskervilles. I think that's
kind of a problem, is it? You don't want to leave him on the moors of Dartmoor, where there could be a Hound of the Baskervilles.
There also was a famous prison there, and the reason it was there was because of all the moorland and the marshes.
Also,
so
not a nice place to leave him.
Effectively sink, I guess, into the bog.
But also not a nice place to leave him.
No, but
but again, Crowley is a former demon, so yes, I get it. Another vote for Eccles cakes. If you want to have something to eat while watching along with Good Omens, definitely get some Eccles cakes in. They're absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, or make them yourselves. Dead easy and much nicer than shop bought.
Definitely, very quick too. Yeah.
Maybe we'll have Eccles acolytes through the podcast.
Maybe,
but with that, Crowley ultimately leaves Aziraphale to deal with Gabriel himself. And I think that moves us on to our third sign of the apocalypse as we move on and leave sign 2, because we have our third sign of the apocalypse, a minor miracle, which is one that Crowley does actually return to help Aziraphale deal with Gabriel. And that's because of a sudden meeting with Beelzebub back at his car, which I love the fact that his car fills with flies as Beelzebub shows up, say, right, I need to speak with you. But he's like, you can just, it'd be almost like worse if it was like a swarm of wasps or something, but it's similar. It's just, I love David Tennant's reactions here, as he is brought back down to hell.
Yeah. Is that the worst transport system you could possibly imagine? Because there is that element of it when it's surrounded by flies, you do feel it's just dirty and disgusting.
Yeah.
It's
almost like it's kind of like, Beelzebub, do you go to the dump that is Beelzebub, or does the dump come to you?
Basically,
and in this case, Beelzebub brings the dump of flies, and rotting flesh and all that to Crowley. But with this meeting, he does finally confirm that, yes, the grapevine, which doesn't exist, does in fact exist. As Crowley said, I just thought that was made up.
Yeah.
But also says that extreme sanctions have been imposed on anyone helping Gabriel by heaven, which is quite serious, because you will be erased from the book of life, which effectively means that you will have never existed. And of course, his mate, Aziraphale, is helping Gabriel at this moment. And
it's not that you will go out of existence, you will be lost from all existence. All of your history never existed at all.
Exactly.
Yeah. And we did hear Michael even call for that book when Muriel gives her the matchbook. She says, right, we have to get the book of life out. So yeah, this seems to be an agreement that if either side are helping them, they'll be erased from all of time and space. Yeah.
And Beelzebub also is kind of saying, in effect, you'll be forgiven, which is not something I do very often, and you can take your place back in hell, maybe as one of the lords or dukes of hell, if you are able to find Gabriel and bring him back to me. Yeah. I love the fact that, of course, he knows exactly where Gabriel is, and it's just the kind of the umming and ahhing that Tennant does about, kind of what's in it for me, and sort of playing ignorant is just really, really good here.
Yep, really good.
But means that Crowley immediately heads back to the bookshop to help his friend. This is an emergency. Aziraphale doesn't know the danger that he's in here.
Exactly.
That's what I'm guessing, of course. Yep. It could also be that, he could bring Gabriel back down to Beelzebub here. I'm suspecting
I don't think so. No, I think he wants to protect Aziraphale, because if he
Definitely.
does bring Gabriel back down, then everybody knows that Aziraphale was involved. And Aziraphale's fallen into this. He didn't have any knowledge of it at all. He has no involvement. Naked Gabriel just turned up at his door and said, "You'll protect me from whatever this is." So,
and of course, with Crowley coming back, he needs to apologise to Aziraphale.
Yes.
Aziraphale wants the apology. I really love the way Michael Sheen says, "Well, I quite want the apology, actually." I mean, it's a really British way of saying it. It's almost like saying, rather than just saying, "I want you to say sorry," it's the politest way to say that.
Exactly.
And he says that, and Crowley just says, "You were right." And he goes, "Well, I want the apology, actually, with the little dance."
Exactly.
And we get this fantastically off-kilter little dance from Crowley as he just says, "You were right, I was wrong, you were right."
Yeah, absolutely.
I must say, I couldn't stop laughing at this. I just thought it was perfect. And I think we'll have to instigate this throughout the series.
I feel
if
like
one of us is right or wrong.
I feel like, knowing our coverage of every show that we've done, we'll make predictions. They'll be wrong. So that would be where we keep it in the next episode. So make sure you send in your feedback to us at feedback@tvpodcastindustries.com for anything that we've gotten wrong in the episode. Because then we can use it next episode.
Or we could have our own specific one, which is, "I'm never right and you're never wrong." Apparently.
that is true. We've been together 19 years, John. So I do know most things. No, I'm joking. But of course.
I loved this. I just absolutely loved it's almost the coyness at which Michael Sheen asks for it. And then just, and has to kind of retort with him. Well, I had to do this in 1642, 1750, whatever, and 1941. And it's like, you can do the dance.
Yes. This is a show that is known for traveling through history. We've already gone before at the beginning of this episode. Will we visit those times that Michael Sheen had to do the apology dance in the past?
I'm suspecting we are going to see him do the apology to Crowley.
I feel like Tennant went so full force into that scene because he knows Michael Sheen also has to do it at some point later in the season. So that'll be good fun.
But they come up with then having to do a miracle, but it needs to be half a miracle because otherwise it'll be detected. Yes,
half a miracle each.
Half a miracle each. Yeah. And of course you just get that classic, no alarm bells, It seems that no one will have noticed this. It's working. As then it cuts to heaven with the whole of heaven going red and the klaxon blaring out. As you have Aziraphale going to the map, seeing this big plume of miracle coming up from Earth as she kind of focuses it down, and just says, "There's a former bookshop owning angel up to his neck. Might not know where Gabriel is, but Aziraphale is up to his neck."
Yes.
In something here. And it was just so good.
Do you think it's because the two of them worked the miracle together? Because there's such a connection between the two of them doing half a miracle each is what makes it so noticeable to heaven, because it's very unlikely that a former demon and angel would combine their powers to do a miracle.
Well, half a miracle and half a miracle then is a full miracle, which would be noticed.
Yes, that's true.
So that's...
Yeah. But it was kind of, I think Aziraphale's point or his idea was, if he only did half a miracle, that wouldn't be seen by heaven. And if Crowley did only half a miracle, that wouldn't be seen by hell.
But
so
the combined effect of it created a miracle.
I do like that it's instantly noticed. That there's no, like, in episode 5, they realize that they've done a miracle. It's like 2.5 seconds later. It's an instant claxons in heaven. Yeah.
So really, good, and a finish there.
Yeah.
So,
and the miracle is that Gabriel won't be able to be visible by anybody looking for him.
Yes.
So I like that. That's going to be interesting. We'll see how that plays out.
Exactly. And what are they going to do to try and hide what the miracle's actual intention is?
Mm-hmm.
So Fantastic stuff.
Yes, that's our main points for the episode. Any notes that we want to talk about? I know that one of the things we definitely wanted to mention was it's really, really good to see Liz Carr here playing Aziraphale. Just interestingly, because we've been covering the first half of season 3 of The Witcher, and Liz Carr was in that show playing the character of Fen with her partner Codringer in a couple episodes ago. So we've just recently talked about the character a couple of weeks ago, and here she is in a nice comedy role in Good Omens. So that's great to see her back. Always great to see this cast together.
Definitely. I think the only thing in notes to kind of bring up is Maggie and Nina.
Yeah.
You know, they're locked into Nina's coffee shop.
Because of Crowley's tantrum, of course, in the street.
As he leaves, after refusing to help Aziraphale hide Gabriel.
Knocks out the power and locks them inside.
You see Maggie trying to see, sort of fishing for information, and Nina saying she has a partner.
Mm-hmm.
You can see a little bit of crush on Maggie there, and Nina saying, I'm going to get so many messages off my partner Lindsay, as they're locked in the shop, because it seems like Lindsay's a bit of a control freak.
Yeah.
For sure. As when the doors finally open up again, courtesy of Crowley, as he's going back in to then do his little apology with his dance. Yeah. All these messages come through from Lindsay to Nina. And
just see some of them were very like, how could you do this to me? Why are you ignoring me? You know, it's all about Lindsay. I did like Maggie's reaction to Crowley snapping his fingers and turning on the power, and she goes, wow, what a coincidence. When he went that way, it all turned off. When he goes the other way, it all turned back on. Great fun.
Yeah.
Good to see these characters together. And yeah, there's definitely something between Maggie and Nina.
Definitely.
Maggie's definitely attracted to Nina, but I like the little touch that potentially Nina's partner is not the greatest partner in the world.
Absolutely. And of course, the names in the show are the first names of the actors.
They are, yes. Yeah. I think if you have a character called Sister Mary Loquacious in the first season, you can play a character called Nina in your own name in the second season.
Yes, definitely.
They don't have to go too expansive when it's an owner of a coffee shop and an owner of a vinyl record store.
Absolutely.
Good stuff.
So, Derek, what did you think about the opening episode of season 2, episode 1, The Arrival?
I am so happy to be back in this world. It's just so much fun. They really seem to all be enjoying themselves on this show. And it's an interesting mystery that's going on here. I'm going in completely blind in this. Remember the first season I went in as the person that had read Good Omens 4 or 5 times. I was a big fan of the book. So it's really fun seeing a different story with all of these characters together. Tennant and Sheen on screen are gold. If you haven't checked out their show that they did throughout lockdown, Staged, which is like, I think 15-minute episodes about 2 actors struggling through COVID. It's a comedy show, but all done on Zoom effectively. Great fun. You can tell they're great friends, and you can tell their chemistry even from that. So having them both on screen again together, always great. John Hamm is having great fun here. I love this Angels versus Demons idea. I love shows like that. You know, it was done for drama's sake on Supernatural, where we saw the machinations of heaven and hell and how they try and control the world. So seeing it again here in the second season in more of a comedy role is going to be interesting. I want to see how it expands. You know, the thing I mentioned earlier on about, you know, Aziraphale & Co., the bookshop now being on the street in Soho and expanding that little universe into at least a street with a few shops. That's one element of expansion to the show. So I want to see how big it goes, how far it will go across different places in the UK. If this is what is the big mystery, what's going to happen in the show, is I'm really intrigued. What is the bad thing that's going to happen? Last season, it was the apocalypse that was going to end everything. So is this a second apocalypse being caused by Gabriel not being in heaven again?
Yeah, going AWOL, effectively. Yeah.
Fascinating. Really looking forward to it. So good stuff. And it made me laugh a lot as well. So, looking forward to the rest of the season. How about yourself, John? What do you think overall of this first episode?
Again, like yourself, I really, really enjoyed coming back into this world. I love the quirkiness of it. I love the dynamic of so many of the different characters, whether it's, you know, obviously the big ones being Crowley and Aziraphale, but it's also Crowley with Shax. Mm-hmm. It's Michael with the other angels.
What's the line with Shax again? You know, if you want to interrupt me, you either call me or you arrive. You don't call and arrive unexpectedly beside me.
Exactly.
Why not? Love that moment.
You know, They're all really, really good. I love John Hamm hamming it up naked, walking through Soho. You can see the quirkiness, the fun, and of course the intrigue. Why is Gabriel there with no memories? What has happened? What does a small little matchbox mean that's been found in heaven? Why has it got both heaven and hell searching for Gabriel, and to the point that if anyone is helping him, there is effectively the ultimate punishment of being wiped from existence entirely. So for me, I just thought it was really good sort of set up episode 1 for this series in such a fun way. I give this 4 dusting Gabriels out of 5.
What are you doing, Gabriel? I'm dusting.
It was, just things like that, are really good. I mean, the apology stuff just made me howl.
We'll do it. We have to do it one more time.
I think so.
Yeah.
You were right. You were right. I was wrong. You were right.
This is great. That's great.
Really, really good. And so, can't wait for the next episode.
Excellent stuff. The episodes of Good Omens, as I mentioned, are all available right now on Prime Video, all 6 episodes of the second season. We have a little bit of feedback in on those episodes. We're just recording the day after the episodes came out. So first up, we got a bit of feedback from Dr. Bob Phillips.
Yes. Dr. Bob Phillips says, this had all the feels of a proper sequel to the original. It's light-hearted with some solid points to make. It's quirky but consistent, and it's still putting tassels on twists. Queenie is Hell's representative in London. John Hamm gets a wiggly naked cuddle with Sheen, and we crushed coffee shop romance and spy benches in the first 15 minutes. Add to that the appearance of Fen in heaven. Is her witchery detective partner going to be flaming down below?
Very good.
And the box that contains nothing, which maybe Gabriel liberated from upstairs, and we've got 6 episodes of delight ahead of us. Absolutely. Thanks so much, Dr. Bob. I completely agree. It is the 6 episodes of sheer delight that awaits us. And it would be so good if Fen's equivalent from The Witcher, Codringer, was down in hell.
Or her partner, yeah.
Yeah.
So that'd be kind of cool. You know what, Dr. Bob? I think your description of this being quirky but consistent is a great description of the second season. It is quirky, but once you get into the humor, it's consistently that level of quirky and interesting and funny. So, yeah. Great stuff. Thanks, Dr. Bob. Hopefully we'll hear from you for the rest of the episodes of the season.
Absolutely.
Also on Facebook, Laura Willie Srink says, let us know, Derek, between you and John, who is Aziraphale and who is Crowley? Interesting question, Laura. I was thinking about this. I'll say the same response that I gave to Laura on Facebook at this. Do you know in season 1 when Aziraphale plays Crowley and Crowley plays Aziraphale? I think that's me and you. I'm not going to say which one's which, but I think we have traits of both mixed together. Sometimes a bit of Crowley comes out, sometimes a bit of Aziraphale comes out.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of a mixture of the two. I think, for sure.
But who do you err more on more like? Do you think?
I guess I look up to Crowley, right. More so. Yeah, that would be my I just really like Crowley, not because he's evil or he's doing evil stuff, but it's just I think the doesn't really give 2 hoots.
Absolutely,
carves out his niche. It's that side of him that I really like.
I like that. I think I'm more likely Aziraphale, more like Aziraphale, but probably would like to have more moments like Crowley.
Yeah, and of course, like Aziraphale, I would munch on a good Eccles cake.
Oh, absolutely. Well. Absolutely. That always calms me down as well, definitely.
Hot, buttery puff pastry.
I think we're going to get some ingredients for Eccles cakes this afternoon, John.
I think we might.
Good stuff. Thanks so much for your thoughts on the first episode. We'd love to hear more from you. Email us into feedback@tvpodcastindustries.com, or as I mentioned, pop on over to podcastica.com. I'm sure Jason will be forwarding over any messages that he gets over there for the episodes. Also over in our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/tvpodcastindustries. I do have a spoiler post up for each episode of Good Omens, so you can pop in your thoughts as you go on there.
Yes, we'll be back next time with Good Omens Season 2, Episode 2, The Clue, featuring the minisode A Companion to Owls. Yes.
Interesting.
You can
Is that a post-credit minisode or
I don't know.
minisode? Interesting.
I do not know.
I know the next 3 episodes all have minisodes attached to them, so I don't know what that is.
Good.
Just by the way, of course, Prime Video. We always forget to mention this in Prime Video. If you're watching it on your laptop, pop over to the X-ray function, and there's loads of behind-the-scenes stuff and making of stuff and loads of little facts about the episodes as well. So always one of the best things about a Prime Video show.
Yes, and so if you want to join us for episode 2 of season 2, The Clue, featuring the minisode and companion to Owls, you can subscribe to any godly or devilish podcast player of your choice over at tvpodcastindustries.com. We are also where you can subscribe, rate us, leave a review, and of course, please share the podcast in heavenly function. Because, of course, sharing the podcast is sharing
the love. We're all about sharing the love here.
Absolutely. You can also find us over on patreon.com/TV Podcast Industries or buymeacoffee.com/TVPI.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, once again, a huge thank you to Jason Kabasi and Podcastica.com. Check them out for other podcasts such as The Cast of Us, which has just finished their coverage of Walking Dead, Dead City. Check out Strange Indeed as well if you want some more demon stuff. Rima Jo and Paik just finished covering Black Mirror Season 6. The last episode of that one was Demon 79. So if you want to check out some more interesting demons set in a British landscape as well in 1979, I think it's a really fun episode actually. Go check that out over on Strange Indeed. Run for Your Lives with Daphne and Paik. Also covering any movies that would make you run for your life. Which I always like. That gives a really broad spectrum of movies and TV shows that make you run for your life. So great stuff over there. And I will also give a good shout out here to, if you enjoy good British comedy, I'd also recommend Penny and Greg's coverage of the very adult superhero comedy Extraordinary, which was on Disney Plus and Hulu in the US, also available on podcastica.com. I remember Extraordinary. That was great fun to watch. The show about everybody in the UK getting superpowers except for a small few. It's a great fun show. Check that out and check out Greg and Penny's coverage.
Excellent stuff. Again, fellow acolytes, thank you for joining us. As always, remember, keep watching, keep listening, and remember, the apocalypse is coming, so grab your hard hat, Heather Wallace.
Bye. Bye.